life, I had not a clue what my ministry would be, where I would be going, how I would be handling it. And when he asked the leadership group, do your budget, get your stuff ready, do your vision, I looked at him and said, I don't have anything. And he said, well, I'll pray with you. Give me a couple of weeks and we'll get back together. So we did, and God opened up the door through him, where he and I talked about me being the seniors and the widows ministry pastor. And God has taken me to a point where I love you guys, and I want to see us do more. I want us to understand the importance of being a senior. When you think about how long and how hard we have come, all of us have stories. All of us have hardships. Nothing is easy, ever, all the time. But we have stories to tell, and we have wisdom. And we have things that we have gone through. And I want to be able to do more than just send you a birthday card when you turn 55 and up. I want to be able to minister to you, to meet your needs, whatever they may be, whether it's food, whether it's medicine, whether it's clothing, that we do something that ministers to you. So I want to be able to reach out in that way as the pastor of the seniors and the widows. So now I'm going to read my 1 Timothy 5. Now, Pastor said something. He said, you know, we really have no respect for people of age. We don't have respect for anybody. It's sad. We don't even have respect for each other. We want to criticize each other. We want to make churches compete as to who can be the biggest church, and that isn't God. It says in the Bible, God is a God of love. So that isn't even God for that to be happening. We should be a church of love and a church of respect. So I'm going to start from there. It says, older women as mothers, younger women as sisters with all purity. Honor widows who are really widows. But if any widow has children or grandchildren, let them first show piety in the home, and to repay their parents, for this is good and acceptable before God. Now, she who is really a widow, that got me, really a widow. What's really a widow? That means widows who are truly widows, not widows who are scamming the system and getting stuff that they shouldn't get because they want to make it look terrific. You know, these widows were true widows. These were the ones who hurt. These were the ones who had no financial stuff going on. They had to rely on God to take care of them. It says, now she who is really a widow and left alone trusts in God and continues in supplications and prayers night and day. But she who lives in pleasure is dead, while she who lives in pleasure is dead while she yet lives. That means you're living a sinful life. And as a church, we're not to help you do that. We are to admonish you to keep yourself pure. And these things I command, that they may be blameless. But if anyone does not provide for his own, especially for those of his own household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. That pretty much says that we should be supporting one another. We should be looking out for our own house. But I feel like that we need to be able to help those who need help. If you know of somebody and they are really, truly struggling with money, say something to me privately, and let's see what assets we can work out so that they don't choose between food and clothing. And let me tell you something, my friend Goldie did that. She had such a bad situation that she did. She chose eating or she chose medicine, but she couldn't have both. And that hurt me, you know, but she would not let me help her. I offered, and she said no. But if you know of somebody that's in that situation, say something. If nothing else, we can start to pray that God will open up doors. Because when you're a senior and when you're a widow, which she is, it's hard. It's very lonely, and people don't understand that. Do not let a widow under 60 years old be taken into the number, and not unless she has been the wife of one man, well reported for good work. If she has brought up children, if she has lodged strangers, if she has washed the saints' feet, if she has relieved the afflicted, if she has diligently followed every good work. That's what we're supposed to be doing as widows, as seniors, as those whom God calls. We are supposed to reach out to our church. There should be a community. It shouldn't be this group on this side and that group on there and this group on this side. There shouldn't be a division. There should not be a division in age. There should not be a division because people think they're smarter than seniors. Can I tell you a story? Can I be transparent here for a little bit? How many of you know me? Where you think you know me? How many of you know that I was in the class when the first black girl came into school? And they sat her next to me in the South. How many of you know that? How many of you know that I was alive when Martin Luther King was here? And I listened to his speeches, and I watched him as he peaceably marched down the way. We think that rioting gets us stuff, but it doesn't. If you watch him, he was a man of integrity. How many of you know I knew that? I was up here. I was alive the day he was shot. I can tell you where I was and how I felt and how I argued with this guy because he felt George Wallace would be a better president. I said, nope. See, there's tales in me. You can ask any senior here. There are things we have been through where if you sat and talked to us, oh, let me tell you, we could straighten you up in a nice way. You don't understand that in the media, you're only getting their side. They aren't telling you everything, because if they told you everything, it would really be quite balanced. I've learned enough to know I don't trust any media. If I don't see it with my own eyes, it doesn't happen. Because the media is very biased, and they only want the sensationalism. They don't want the truth. So you need to look out and be careful. Talk to us. Talk to us seniors. We could tell you. You ever want to know? Sound talk to me and ask me, I'll tell you. Everybody would tell you. Pastor and I have been counseling Nalina and Willie, and Pastor gave me a really nice compliment. He said, you didn't last 40 years for nothing. So I want you to feed into these kids. Give them your advice. I said, okay. And then he came to me and said, "We're ready to meet with you again." I went, "Okay." That was a nice compliment, that what Bob and I had established for 40 years was still going to go on. Amen. And that what we went through and how we grew is still going on. And I thank the Lord for that. Now we're going to go to 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 5. And I am going to read verse 6 with that because I like that. Kind of completed the thought. See, I gave Pastor carte blanche like he does me sometimes. As my exhorter said, go where you feel like you need to go. Likewise, younger people, submit yourselves to your elders. Boy, we don't like that word, do we? Submit. Submit. But do you know what that means? Some people think it means make yourself be a slave to somebody else. It doesn't. It means to listen, to stop, and to hear what they have to say. That's what it is. And when they correct you, don't be upset, because they're correcting you out of love. And they're correcting you because that's how God wants us to do it. If it wasn't that way, He wouldn't have it in the Bible. Yes, all of you be submissive to one another and be clothed with humility. For God resisteth the proud and gives rise to the humble. Therefore humble yourselves under the mighty hand of God, that He may exalt you in due time. As a single woman, I'm going to be honest with you. It's been a hard ride. I'm not going to lie. Being a widow has been hard. But God has sent people before me that I have learned how to be a widow from. And do you want to hear this? I think they're all younger than me. I've got my single women who I see how God just takes care of them. I've got my widows that I can go talk to and say, all right, is this the next phase? You know, what am I going through? This is how I'm feeling. And they'll say, yep, next phase. And this is what you're going to go through next. And I'm like, okay. Had they not gone through it, they could not tell me what I'm going through. But because of the wisdom of what they have been through, they can say, yep, that's normal. I went, phew, don't need to see a psychiatrist for that. We'll just wait a couple of weeks and this phase will pass. You know? But I am thankful that God has put people in front of me that have helped me and lifted me up and helped me to be where I want to be. And as I close out my sermon, I want to say simply, let's love one another. If you see a senior, say hello to them, not just on Sundays. Call them up at some odd hour and say, hey, thinking about you. Because you know what I'm learning? I am in a point of being very, very lonely. And it would be nice. I can't be the only person. And I've talked to several, and they all feel that same kind of loneliness. When you have had somebody in your house for over 40 years in your life since elementary school, that's a really big loss. And it means my house is really, truly quiet. And that gets quite lonely, but I'm not the only one going through that phase of it. But we need to connect with each other. We need to open up, and we need to make it more than just a once a year thing. Like Pastor said, this is wonderful, and I do want to do it more times than once. Because we need to learn how to respect. We need to learn how to enjoy each other, because all of us have our own kind of traits. All of us have our own talents. So we need to be able to reach out and touch one another, no matter if you're old, young, whatever. I asked Brother Edgar to do the offering because I liked where he was going and I wanted to continue it up. He's not old enough to be in my class yet, but we're working on it. Pastor, on the other hand, is more than old enough to be in my... I just want to thank Pastor for letting me take this opportunity to meet my new ministry, to let you guys know where I'm headed and how things are working, and I'm so excited. And I thank you.